WayV's story has always moved with pressure behind it, from their fast start in 2019 to the years before everything slowed. Their comeback, Eternal White, is the release that makes their past years make sense. This is how 6 years of change shaped the WayV today. In 2018, SM Entertainment made a calculated risk. They assembled 7 young men under a new subsidiary called Label V, with one goal: to create NCT's China-based unit. Kun, Ten, Winwin, Lucas, Xiaojun, Hendry, Yang Yang, and the group name WayV. None of them had debuted together. Some had trained for years, waiting. Others were newer, unproven. The company saw potential. The members saw a crucial opportunity. But here's what nobody says about pre-debut. It's not about whether you're good enough to be noticed. It's about whether anyone will care. The group chemistry wasn't instantaneous. It had to be built through shared dorms, late rehearsals, language barriers smoothed over time after time. They weren't friends yet. They were colleagues united by a common deadline and a powerful, shared ambition. What held them together was simpler than passion: the ambition and the knowledge that this was likely their only chance. On January 17, 2019, their debut digital EP, The Vision, was released. It featured a sleek, sharp concept and precise choreography, highlighted by their lead single Regular, which is a Chinese version of an NCT 127 track. The message was clear: this group would operate differently, managed by Label V as a self-contained force, primarily for the Chinese market. The industry took notice, and fans responded with immediate curiosity. The EP's tracks all placed in the top 10 on the Billboard World Digital Song Sales chart, a notable achievement. But curiosity is the beginning, not the end, of building a loyal fan base. The nervousness was real. WayV was entering a crowded field with no established fan base, no track record, and a strategy that navigated the increasingly complex relationship between the Korean and Chinese markets. In early 2019, the vision of a successful China-based unit still seemed like a bold yet possible gamble. The 9th of May 2019, Take Off arrived fast and loud. The music video featured racing sequences and sharp cuts, choreography built on synchronization over individuality. The concept was deliberate: move with such speed and precision that no one could pause to question the group's sudden arrival. The track blended EDM with high-energy hip-hop, featuring strong lead vocals and rap verses delivered with a growing confidence. The song succeeded by forcing constant motion, giving listeners little time to analyze. The reception was strong, topping QQ Music popularity charts and iTunes across Asia. International fans that was already familiar with Ten and Winwin through prior NCT activities began paying attention. Domestic Chinese audiences were harder to crack, but curiosity was building. At that point, WayV was no longer a theoretical project. They were a performing, active unit. But here's what the momentum hid. They were still figuring each other out. Synchronization was tight because their practice was relentless. Stage presence was uneven because some members commanded attention naturally, while others were learning in real time. That rawness became part of the early appeal as fans felt they were watching a process of growth. What they were truly mastering during this intense phase was crucial skills of how to show confidence when you are still uncertain, how to operate as a single, cohesive unit despite 7 individuals having different instincts, and how to present a polished result while it was still under construction. Skills that would matter immensely when their journey faced unexpected challenges later on. Just 6 months after their debut project, on October 29, WayV returned with their second mini-album, Take Over the Moon. The shift in style was immediate. Where Takeoff was a sharp, kinetic display of force, this comeback embraced a more dreamlike, ethereal quality. It featured slower pacing in the visuals, intimate close-ups, and softened styling. The choreography balanced fluid, expressive movements with their signature hard-hitting formations, showcasing versatility. The album included Love Talk, a track that would become one of their most streamed and beloved internationally. Moonwalk served as the primary performance showcase, while tracks like King of Hearts leaned into a polished pop sound. The group's identity was rapidly sharpening. Cinematic visuals, polished execution, and emotional depth beneath the powerful performances. By the end of 2019, WayV had released 2 mini-albums and transitioned from an experiment to a legitimate, functioning group with undeniable momentum. Fan engagement increased, streaming numbers climbed, and international tour dates began booking. They had made a place for themselves in the competitive K-pop and C-pop landscape. This is where most stories would conclude with a simple message of success. But momentum is deceptive. It feels like validation, like proof that the risk was worth it. What it actually is borrowed time. The faster you move forward, the harder it is to notice when the ground beneath you is shifting. They didn't know yet, none of them did, that the markets they were bridging were already pulling further apart due to evolving political and regulatory landscapes, that a single allegation could freeze everything they'd built. In late 2019, the future looked clear. That was the most dangerous part of all. On the 9th of June 2020, WayV released their first full-length album, Awaken the World. The lead single, Turn Back Time, became their most significant release. The concept was alternate timelines, regret, and second chances. The irony of those themes wouldn't become clear until much later. The production quality on this album peaked for the group, featuring high-budget CGI and parallel universes colliding in the music video. The physical album release was delayed by 9 days due to outfit issues, but the digital album and title track still saw commercial success, hitting #1 on iTunes in 21 countries and charting well across Asia. The album showcased range from Bad Alive and Stand By Me. Turn Back Time saw the group regularly perform on South Korean music shows, expanding their international recognition. Tours were in the planning stages, and endorsements were coming in. While the pandemic complicated logistics, the group adapted with online concerts and digital promotions, and their momentum held strong. By the end of 2020, WayV had proven they could carry a full album, deliver high-quality content, maintain fan engagement through difficult circumstances. They won international awards from the Mnet Asian Music Awards and Asia Artist Awards. Everything was pointing forward, and it should have been their breakthrough year. What they didn't know, that this was as high as it would get for a long time. The album was called Awaken the World, and its message was about second chances. They were documenting their peak and their future struggle simultaneously, without realizing it. On the 10th of March 2021, Kickback dropped with confidence. The concept was bright, energetic, and built for summer, with colorful styling, playful choreography, and retro arcade aesthetics. This era felt like a genuine celebration. 2 years in, WayV had built solid momentum, a dedicated fan base, and creative confidence. Kickback performed well commercially, becoming the group's first #1 album on the Gaon album chart and their best-selling first-week album at the time. Action Figure became a fan favorite, and Good Time leaned into pop style. Promotional activities ran smoothly, and members' chemistry was visible and natural. The group looked comfortable. That's what everyone remembers. How comfortable they looked, how sustainable it felt. Future comebacks were expected, and plans were in motion. The experimental project was running smoothly. Kickback marked the last major release before everything changed. At the time, no one knew. The momentum felt permanent. That's how it works. You never know you're living through the last good day until it's over. And then the silence began. August 2021. Everything stopped. Allegations regarding Lucas's personal conduct surfaced online. SM Entertainment released statements, and Lucas issued a handwritten apology announcing he would halt all scheduled activities to reflect on his actions. The specifics don't need retelling here. What matters is understanding what happens to a group when the momentum disappears overnight. Lucas went on indefinite hiatus. WayV didn't disband, and the remaining 6 members continued under the name, but group activities became sparse, with no comeback announcements or tours for a long time. Then, China's entertainment industry faced regulatory shifts, stricter content guidelines, and increased scrutiny on idol culture, as well as limits on performances and broadcasts. For WayV, a group designed specifically to bridge Chinese and Korean markets, these restrictions directly narrowed their promotional opportunities in their primary target market. Here's what that actually means. 6 people who had spent 2 years building something together suddenly couldn't do the thing they'd been training for. The group didn't end. It just froze indefinitely, with no clear path forward and no timeline for return. Fans didn't know if WayV would ever return. Months turned into a year, with no official statements about the group's future, just scattered solo activities and silence. Every other SM group continued regular promotion while WayV exists only in the past. This is what survival actually looks like. Not fighting back or overcoming the obstacle, but just existing in uncertainty. Working on individual things while the main group project sits frozen, waiting for permission to continue that might never come. WayV finally returned with their 4th mini-album, Phantom, on the 28th of December 2022, nearly 2 years after Kickback. The comeback arrived with 8 tracks and a title song that used Phantom as a metaphor for overcoming adversity. The group returned as a 6-member unit, and while Lucas's absence was initially noted through 6 silhouettes and teasers, SM Entertainment formally announced his official departure from both NCT and WayV in May 2023, months after the album's release. Phantom marked a significant shift in tone. It was dark, dramatic, and theatrical. The music video featured shadowy corridors, Victorian-era styling. Compared to the energetic group from Kickback, this was something heavier and more mature. The choreography reflected that weight, with more deliberate, grounded movements. Reception was complicated. There was immense relief that WayV had returned, sadness over the lineup change, and appreciation for the new artistic direction. Phantom didn't pretend the hiatus hadn't happened. It acknowledged everything through its powerful sound and visuals. Here's what the Phantom comeback actually was. A test. Not for fans, for themselves. Could 6 people who'd spent 2 years working separately still function as one unit? Could they rebuild trust that had fractured during silence? Could they even remember why they started? On the 1st of November 2023, WayV released their 2nd full-length album, On My Youth. The title track was a poignant ballad, focusing on gentle piano, strings, and front and center vocals. The concept centered on memory, nostalgia, and the weight of time passing, utilizing home video aesthetics and grainy footage of members alone in quiet spaces. This was the most vulnerable WayV had ever been, publicly. Lyrics spoke openly to loss, reflection, and growing up under pressure. The focus shifted entirely to emotional delivery, with many fans describing the album as heartbreaking but beautiful. On My Youth arrived as more than just a comeback. It was public confession. The group had spent 2 years largely apart, navigating individual struggles and industry changes. This release acknowledged that difficulty instead of rushing toward an artificial sense of normalcy. Critics noted the group's maturity, and fans responded with overwhelming emotion. The real impact was psychological. WayV was no longer trying to prove strength, but embracing honesty. The shift from proving themselves to understanding themselves had begun. This era represented the hardest part of survival, the aftermath. Most groups don't do this. They rebrand struggle as triumph. They package pain as growth and move on, but WayV chose differently, showing that survival can feel exhausting, not victorious. When the fifth mini-album, Give Me That, dropped in June 2024, the shift was deliberate. While On My Youth processed the pain, this release was about moving forward. It was bright, confident, and built for summer, with a funky pop dance title track featuring an old-school drum beat and infectious brass. The concept was simple: reclaim the stage and enjoy performing again. The production was upbeat, the hooks catchy, and the choreography was designed to highlight precision and synchronization. The styling was bold with vibrant colors, and the members looked genuinely comfortable. The weight of their struggles hadn't disappeared, but it no longer dominated. Give Me That performed well commercially. The group earned their first ever music show win. The discourse shifted from "Will WayV survive?" to "What's next for WayV?" Towards the late 2024, WayV brought their sixth mini-album, Frequency, a softer follow-up that explored the essential theme of connection. The title track blended electronic elements with acoustic instrumentation, creating a clean, spacious sound with room to breathe. The focus remained on storytelling through movement and strong vocals, including a pre-release single titled High Five. This album marked their third consecutive release without member Winwin, who was on hiatus for Chinese drama filming, but the remaining 5 members continued to work as a steady unit. Frequency solidified the pattern of consistent releases and exploration of different sounds, proving the group was functioning as a stable, working unit. The album broke the group's first-week sales record and earned them several more music show wins, demonstrating that trust and fan engagement were being rebuilt through consistency rather than spectacle. This era represented the understanding that survival is about showing up repeatedly, even when it's not a grand gesture. The work itself became the point, and the connection between members and fans became the ultimate goal. The summer of 2025 arrived with the release of their 7th mini-album, Big Bands, on July 18. The energy was immediately apparent: bold, confident, and loud, with vibrant brass instrumentation and jazz elements dominating the track. A brighter and fuller sound than anything since Kick Back. This release felt like a genuine celebration. The music video showcased vibrant colors, dynamic camera work, and playful styling. The choreography returned to high energy and sharp movements. The group looked revitalized. Big Bands marked something significant. The first time since the hiatus that WayV released something purely fun without an underlying weight. No processing, no rebuilding, just the members enjoying performing together at full capacity. The differences was noticeable. Fans widely described it as liberating. Promotional activities ran at full scale. Interviews, behind-the-scenes content, fan meetings, and including music show appearances where they achieved a first-place win with the track Big Bands. The group's schedule looked normal again. This era of their long-running journey represented permission to feel joy again without guilt. The group had proven they could overcome uncertainty, process difficulty, and return stronger. The 8th of December 2025 marked the release of WayV's first ever winter special album, Eternal Light. The concept is deceptively simple: freeze time. Not to escape, but to remember. 6 years had passed since their debut with The Vision in 2019. 6 years of momentum gained and lost, members leaving, restrictions faced, solo work during separation. The slow, uncertain process of reuniting, the rebuilding of trust, and the decision to continue. The lyrics express a strong determination to break through frozen time like a white winter and keep moving forward endlessly. And the music video features winter aesthetics. focusing heavily on powerful choreography within minimalist, icy sets. The album includes tracks that explore the full emotional range of their journey. The Fifth Season, an R&B song featuring a resonant melody and rich a cappella arrangement, which lyrically captures the wistfulness and longing felt when time seems to stand still. Moment in Time continues the dreamy R&B atmosphere. The tracks First Time explore the delicate excitement of new love, and the symphonic ballad Lover After Me showcase the mature regrets of past love. The introspective Strange Tears uses unique piano to explore the process of growth through confronting one's inner confusion, while the English song Stay capturing the honest, subtle emotions of growing closer to someone. Each track in this album serves to build a comprehensive narrative of survival, reflection, and forward motion, documenting WayV's 6-year journey. This comeback, Eternal White, didn't claim a victory. It simply existed as documentation of survival and growth. The album says, this is what it took. These are the scars, and this is the love that remained. Nearly 7 years, 2 eras of momentum, 2 years of silence, 3 years of reconstruction. WayV's story is not one of overnight success or dramatic comeback. It's about endurance, about the choices made when no one's watching, and the outcome isn't guaranteed. In the broader K-pop and C-pop landscape, WayV occupies unique space. They bridged markets during a period when that bridge was actively collapsing, maintained identity through regulatory changes that shut down similar projects. Their influence is visible in how newer groups could approach the industry. In the understanding that hiatuses don't have to be career-ending, WayV's journey normalized struggle as part of the story, not something to hide or rebrand as triumph. The future is not uncertain anymore. WayV is not waiting for permission or momentum. Eternal White will not be their last release. The group that debuted in 2019 no longer exists. These 6 members have been reshaped by time, pressure, separation, and choice. What remains is stronger for it. They carried their history through years of uncertainty. They returned with a renewed identity. They chose each other. Eternal White simply holds that moment of certainty, the point where the decision to continue became quiet clarity, not noise or ceremony. The choice to continue together. WayV dared to be bold, will you?